Hai korang, so hari tu ramai sangat yang DM Yaya, mesin mana yang best untuk portable selain daripada mesin Yaya tunjuk hari tu. Okey, ni adalah salah satu mesin yang terbaik yang Yaya pernah try lah. Mesin singa 4423 ni. Okey, mesin ni sangat best sebab dia heavy duty. So benda yang tebal-tebal semua boleh jalan sekali arung. Itu dia. Okey, yang bestnya korang boleh tengok mesin dia. Nampak tak dia punya bentuk dia, kemasan dia, memang nampaklah heavy duty dia, bentuk petak-petak everything semua tu. So korang kalau biasa yang tak mampu nak beli untuk cash, untuk fully payment, korang boleh pergi ke pusat-pusat singa untuk dapatkan installment pun boleh juga. Tapi kalau ada modal lebih, better bayar cash terus lah sebab harga dia murah. Kalau macam contoh dekat Shopee sekalipun, dekat online, kat Shopee harga baru 900 lebih. So korang boleh grab dekat sana. Mesin ni sangat sesuai untuk semua beginner yang betul-betul nak fokus untuk dalam bidang jahitan. Sebab mesin ni boleh jahit jeans, boleh jahit getah pinggang tanpa ada rasa ragu-ragu. Yang sekarang ni dia tengah buat demo everything ni, semua cara-cara macam mana nak gunakan mesin ni lah. Tapi rasa hari tu ada dalam Yaya punya video sebelum ni dah tunjukkan kan cara nak guna mesin portable sama sahaja. Macam yang dia tunjukkan tu semua tu, tu adalah mata-mata jahitan. So yang tu adalah tapak. Yang tu adalah tempat turun tapak. So sangat mudah mesin ni sebab Yaya dah try, dah test drive. Sebab Yaya memang memerlukan satu mesin portable untuk mengajar. Jadinya memang Yaya dah test drive singa ni. Mesin Yaya on the way, coming soon. Dia memang best. Memang banyak-banyak mesin portable yang pernah guna, ni paling best. So mesin ni dia boleh ada extender table juga. So bagi kalau korang nak jahit langsir ke apa ke pun sesuai. Bagi siapa yang dah pernah pakai mesin ni, boleh tolong drop kat komen, betul tak mesin ni best. So bantu kawan-kawan lain untuk memilih mesin ni. So dekat sini nanti kita dengar lah makcik-makcik ni macam mana dia nak guna mesin ni. So korang boleh dengar lah cara penggunaan, macam mana nak buat button hole. Ni adalah manual lah. Lepas ni kita suruh lah makcik ni bercakap ya. Yaya dah tak payah bercakap lagi.
These include some bobbins, needles, a spool cap, and some additional presser feet. Let's take a closer look at those presser feet. In addition to the all-purpose foot that comes on your machine, you get a buttonhole foot used for sewing buttonholes, a button sewing foot used for sewing on buttons, and a zipper foot used for inserting zippers, and it can also be used for inserting piping. Turn the hand wheel towards you so that the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot. Remove your fabric and trim your thread. Our stitch looks good on the top and on the bottom, so our machine is threaded correctly. If your stitches look good on top, but look loopy or even irregular on the bottom, then you will need to rethread your upper thread. Now we're ready to sew a seam. My machine is already set up for a standard straight stitch, and my needle position dial is already set for the center position, which is where it will be for most sewing. My needle plate has lines and measurements on them, such as 3/8 and 5/8 of an inch. Most commercial projects have 5/8 inch seam allowances, so I'm going to line my fabric up with the 5/8 inch seam, lower the presser foot, and sew forward a few stitches. Press and hold the reverse lever, and sew backwards a few stitches. Release the reverse lever, and sew down the seam. Notice I'm not pushing or pulling the fabric, I'm just guiding it. Stop sewing when you reach the end of your fabric. Press and hold the reverse lever and sew backwards a few stitches. Release the reverse lever and sew to the end of the fabric. Turn the hand wheel towards you so that the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot. Remove the fabric and trim the thread. And there's our seam. We did reverse stitching at the beginning and the end of the seam to secure it so it doesn't unravel. Now let's take a look at some of our other stitches. This machine comes with a variety of basic and decorative stitches that can be customized for your project using stitch length and width. I'm going to select the zigzag stitch on the stitch selector dial, and I'm going to move my stitch length to 1 to create a short zigzag, and I'm going to move my stitch width to 2, which will make it short and narrow. Place the fabric under the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and begin sewing. Stop sewing when you've reached the end of your fabric. Turn the hand wheel towards you so the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot and clip the thread. There is our short and narrow zigzag. Now I want to adjust my zigzag stitch. I want to keep it short, but I want to make it wide. So I'm going to move my stitch width dial all the way to number 6 and leave my stitch length set at 1. Now I'm going to place the fabric back under the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and begin sewing again. Stop sewing once you've reached the end of the fabric and turn the hand wheel towards you so that the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot and trim the thread. And there is our short and wide zigzag. Now I want to change up the zigzag stitch again. This time, I want to have a long zigzag. So I'm going to move my stitch length dial to the number 4. I already have it set at number 6, so let's try a long and wide zigzag. Place the fabric underneath the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and begin sewing. Turn the hand wheel towards you so the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot and trim the thread. There is our long and wide zigzag. Last, I want to change my zigzag stitch so that it's still very long, but I want to make it more narrow. So I'm going to move the stitch width dial down to number 2. Let's see what that looks like. Place the fabric underneath the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and begin sewing. Turn the hand wheel towards you so the needle is in the highest position. Raise the presser foot and trim the thread. And there is our long and narrow zigzag. You can adjust your stitch length and width on all of your stitches. So try it out and see what works for you on your project. When making buttonholes, it's a good idea to stabilize your fabric. This will help keep your buttonhole from puckering, as buttonhole stitches can be dense. Now let's make a buttonhole. Place your button on your project where you want your buttonhole to be, and mark the top and bottom of the buttonhole. Use a ruler between the 2 lines you made and draw a straight line down the length. To retrieve your buttonhole foot, open up the removable storage compartment and take it out. Behind your presser foot holder is a little lever. Push that lever and your all-purpose foot will pop off. Take your buttonhole foot with the red marks to the left. Place it under the presser foot holder so that the metal bar lines up with the holder. Lower the presser foot holder and it will snap into place. To select your buttonhole stitch, go to your stitch selector dial and move it to this rectangular icon with the number 1 on it. Now you'll notice on your stitch selector dial that you have 3 similar rectangular icons with 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is because it is a 4-step buttonhole. You will notice that number 1 and 3 are on the same slot. This is because these are the tops and bottoms of our buttonholes. Now go to your stitch length dial and adjust it so that the area that looks like a buttonhole is selected. The area more to the left will make the stitches further apart, whereas the area to the right will make them closer together. You can adjust this according to the thread you're using on your project. Then adjust your stitch width dial up to number 6. Now place the fabric under your buttonhole foot and line up the bottom line you drew with the opening in the buttonhole foot. Also make sure that the little red lines on the opening of your buttonhole foot line up with the bottom red line on the left side. Lower the presser foot and sew a few stitches for the bottom bar tack. Raise the needle to the highest position. Select number 2 on your stitch selector dial and sew until you've reached the top line that you drew on your fabric. Raise the needle so it's in the highest position. Select number 3 on the stitch selector dial and sew a few stitches for your upper bar tack. Raise the needle to the highest position. Select number 4 on your stitch selector dial and sew until you reach the bottom bar tack. Turn the hand wheel towards you so the needle is in the highest position once you've reached the bottom bar tack. Raise the presser foot. And there's our stitched buttonhole. To finish off your buttonhole, use a hand sewing needle and thread it with the tail of thread that was left when we cut it. And move the thread to the back of the fabric and tie it off. Now place a pin at the top bar tack, and this will keep us from accidentally cutting through our bar tack when we open our buttonhole. Take the seam ripper that came in your removable storage compartment, place it into the buttonhole above your bottom bar tack, and carefully work your way up until you reach the pin. Remove the pin, and we have a buttonhole. Now we're ready to change the needle. You will need to retrieve the L-shaped screwdriver from your removable storage compartment. I'm going to place a piece of paper over my feed teeth just so I don't accidentally drop the needle into my machine. Hold the needle and turn the needle clamp screw towards you to loosen it. And remove the needle. Take a new needle with the flat side to the back and insert it in the needle clamp. Once it's up as high as it will go, turn the needle clamp screw away from you to tighten it. And remove the paper.
Dah penat kan makcik tu menceceh. Dapat banyak ilmu kan? Senang. So ya cakap mesin ni okey. So this one is dia punya manual. Okey, jangan terkejut. Part 4 1 pula tadi dia cakap part 2 3 sama saja. Ini all collection, all design. Sekarang dah di-upgrade. So korang boleh dapatkan secara online ataupun dekat mana-mana singa punya distributor. And then bagi siapa yang tak pernah lagi komen, like, subscribe ya. So korang boleh do sekarang. Okay, stay tune guys.